Yes, peace and blessings, family. This is Malik Ismail, curator of the From Old Guard to Vanguard photo exhibit, as well as the Los Angeles City of Panthers photo exhibit. I'd like to play shortly a interview I did on WRFG, that's 89.3 FM here in Atlanta, and I hope you will definitely enjoy. Stand by. All right, recording has started. Welcome, family, to What Good is a Song, the Friday Night Drum. We thank you for supporting us during this final fund drive of the year, and we want to make sure that you are aware of what's going on in your neighborhood and how it is that you can connect with these opportunities going forward. So we have a special guest that we've invited to our program to discuss just one of those events that are upcoming and some history around it, just so that you can wet your palate a little bit around why it is that you may be interested in attending something like this. We have our brother Malik Ismail, who is with us today, and we would like to welcome him to the Friday Night Drum. Welcome, Malik. Thanks for having me, brother. Really appreciate that, and appreciate the invitation as well from Brother Bilal Sunni Ali, who's a tremendous mentor to me. Yes, indeed, and to me as well, and to all of us who have been airshifters on this particular program. He has been a great mentor and continues to be so. So thank you for mentioning him as well. Now, can you tell us, before we get into the heart of our conversation, tell us a little bit about who you are, what your background is, and what we're going to be discussing today in our interview? Oh, certainly. My name is Malik Ismail. I was a former member of the Panther Vanguard movement out of Los Angeles, which was created by three former members of the Southern California chapter of the Black Panther Party. Their name was Kwaku Duran, Sharif Abdullah, and Charles Boko Freeman. And basically, they organized what would be called the New Panther Vanguard movement, which was the third leg or wave of the Panther movement in Los Angeles, even though it was a legacy formation. But a little bit about Kwaku, he actually formed the Southern California chapter of the Black Panther Party after the deaths of Bunchy Carter and as well as John Huggins, who were murdered on the campus of UCLA, January 17th, 1969. And of course, that chapter went underground for a period of time. And then during the exile of Huey P. Newton, when Elaine Brown was in charge of the Black Panther Party, the first woman ever to lead the Black Panther Party, Kwaku joined the Panther Party after the murder of his sister by a CHIPS officer in California. And so basically, he organized the Southern California chapter back in 1977 to 82. And then once the party ended in 1982, there was this resurgence movement of the Panther Party or Panther ideals in the 90s. And he decided, along with Sharif Abdullah and Charles Boko Freeman, to form the New Panther Vanguard movement. And I immediately joined once it pretty much was introduced to the public. And later on, I would take on the title of Minister of Information. I would also be in charge of the newspaper, creating it, distributing it, along with Brother Boko. And we also had a good brother named Kamal Osiris, who actually is from Indiana. But he would be part of the newspaper in terms of getting it together. And we opened up an office in South Central Los Angeles. We had health clinics. We had community programs. We had the bus in the prison program. We had our own bus. We had certain doctors from South Central that would come in 2 or 3 times a week, if I remember correctly. And we had just so many programs. Seniors Against Fearful Environment program, which was a mainstay of the party. We had massive food giveaways, along with the political aspect of our movement. And we were just really part of the third wave of the Panther movement in Los Angeles.
And it lasted from 1994 until 2002. And after that, I just became a writer because before I joined the Panther Vanguard movement, I had no writing experience. But I wrote in a newspaper, began to write for the LA Watch Times. I had a feature or two in the Los Angeles Times, African Times. I've even written for Rolling Out magazine here in Atlanta. And eventually, after the movement ended in 2002, went from 1994 to 2002. And that's when our office was firebombed very mysteriously. And then we had a split at the top. So that ended the phase of the Vanguard movement. But I would go on to continue writing. Eventually, I wrote a book called From Old Guard to Vanguard, the second generation Panther. And I've been doing that pretty much ever since. And I do remember years ago, I met Bill Jennings around, was it 1995 or 6? And he was part of the It's About Time Black Panther commemorative community, I should say committee. And from there, he would have photo exhibits. And I would always ask him and say, brother, I don't see LA represented. I don't see Prentice Bunchy Carter, who in my mind is one of the most legendary Black Panther leaders, but you don't see or hear too much about him. And so I'd always ask him, say, why isn't he in some of the exhibits? And he said, well, hey, brother, if you think he should be, or the LA chapter should have more representation, why don't you just, make one on your own? And so therefore, this Saturday, October 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. at the Southwest Arts Center. It'll be the third individual photo exhibit that I've worked on here in Atlanta, and along with the 3 other exhibits that I worked with Bill Jennings, from I think it was 2004, we had one in 2006, and we had an art and culture conference of the Black Panther Party that we hosted here in Atlanta between the Southwest Arts Center and the Auburn Avenue Research Library. So that's really how I got involved in the photo exhibit aspect, and that's a little bit about my history.
Well, thank you for that. That was a beautiful introduction, not only to yourself, but to the history of probably very little known history among the average brother and sister that is aware of the Black Panther Party's existence.
Right on.
So to that point, though, why is it important? Why do you feel it is important to continue to present the history and the legacy of the Black Panther Party to the masses?
Well, I believe that I had learned so much because I wasn't just someone working in an organization that didn't have the impact and influence from the older generation. I knew the family of Bunchy Carter. His mother, Nola Mae Carter, I knew her. I knew, many of the relatives of other party members that were around. Many of them actually mentored us. The Freeman brothers, Roland and Ronald Freeman, were big mentors to me. Wayne Parr, a big mentor to me. And the film that I'll be showing on Saturday as part of a special presentation is a film in which you see the attack by SWAT. It was 700 officers against 11 Black Panther Party members in a shootout at 4:30 in the morning. And they defended the headquarters. Again, including 2 women, which were Tommy and Peaches. And I happen to have known Peaches. So many of them now are gone. And again, I felt it would be an honor for people to know who they were, what they look like. And the best way to do that is to have pictures so you can see their face, see the work, what they did. And when they come out on Saturday, they'll have a chance to see many images of really all 3 eras, from the Bunchy Carter era. Bunchy Carter started the Black Panther Party in Southern California in 1968. He was assassinated in 69. And the party pretty much ended in Southern California in 71. Kwaku Duran, he did from 1977 to 82. And then the Panther Vanguard, 1994 to 2002, and I have all these images is my way of showing people who these people were, their impact on me, and it made me have a level of commitment that I had to make sure that their names are never forgotten.
Really appreciate the work that you're doing to educate us and continue to remind us of our history.
Thank you.
Inspire us about our organization and really provide direction for us and going forward. So where do you imagine, as somebody who is not just an observer of history, but a maker of history in that way, where do you imagine this history will take us going forward from 2022 with everything that we've dealt with in the past several years relating to social upheaval, political organizing, from Black Lives Matter, all the things that preceded it and have grown out of it, and where our people are right now, which seems like it may have lulled a little bit because of this COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
But we know that the issues that have created or fertilized the soil, if you were, are still prevalent. So where do you see us going forward now?
Well, I think through the images and certainly, talking to people, lecturing, because I do that as well. Thing is to let them see what happened before them and how to improve on that. You have to remember that myself, at least I'm going to tell you, is that the fact that the most impactful book I've ever read was the autobiography of Malcolm X. And that made such a profound impact on me. And shortly thereafter, within a course of a year, I went from reading the autobiography of Malcolm X to deciding to go on a trip with the Nation of Islam. I'm not a member, but I wanted to go to Africa and go take, it was 2,000 of us that went to Africa back in 1994 as well. And I had a chance to meet Kwame Ture, who's more popularly known as Stokely Carmichael on the continent of Africa. And one of the things he told me when I met him, and after he kind of got a feel of what I was about and in the way I was talking with him, he said, well, brother, you have all these great ideas. Are you part of an organizational apparatus that can carry these ideals from theory to practice? I said, no, sir, I'm not. And he said, well, brother, if you're not part of an organizational apparatus that at least doesn't, where you serve your people at least once or twice a week, if not 24/7, brother, then really your talking doesn't mean nothing, because you have to organize. And I was in Accra, Ghana, West Africa, sitting on at a desk with Stokely Carmichael, or I should say more correctly, Kwame Ture. And for him to give me that advice and to see something in me, I immediately told myself, I'm going to join an organization. And then I looked at the historical organizations like Southern Christian Leadership, CORE, and Congress of Racial Equality. I looked at all these different groups, Nation of Islam. And the only one that seemed to be a good fit for me was the Black Panther perspective. And I knew that the Black Panther Party wasn't around anymore. But when I got back to Los Angeles from Ghana, I happened to see a flyer that had an image of a panther. And so what I did, I went to the event. I met Kwaku, Sharif, and Boko, and the rest of the comrades. I became a member the next day after this event. And within the course of me reading Malcolm X, going to Africa, meeting Kwaku and the former Southern California chapter members, next thing, at the end of the year, I found myself on stage with Jesse Jackson, Maxine Waters, and others talking about the plight of Mumia Abu-Jamal. So if my example of a life and trajectory in terms of being in the right place, the right time, and having the proper psychology in order to receive that information and carry it into practice, that's what I think that the new generation can do. They just need to see that you can carry this theory into practice. It doesn't have to be part of any emotional fervor, because it doesn't, when it get down to, we have to be more collective and calculating as opposed to reactionary. And so they'll see these images, they'll read these stories and these books that will show that, yes, you can do it too. We failed in what we did, but we accomplished a lot that the next generation can build on.
I'm glad that you mentioned Mumia Abu-Jamal.
Yes.
Because when you said that you were not a writer before you got involved in an organization, and then out of that third wave began to publish books as an author and continue to write, that you cut your teeth as a writer in the Black Panther vanguard.
Right.
I thought about Mumia,
yes.
who also cut his teeth as a young man in the Black Panther Party as a writer, and continues to be an amazing journalist to this day because of his experience.
Absolutely.
With the Black Panther Party organization.
And I know he was 15 years old as well. Right. Yeah.
As somebody who is incarcerated, because we air his commentary regularly on this program, as somebody who's incarcerated and has been incarcerated for as long as he has been, and you mentioned a couple of other incidents in the history of revolutionaries in the Black Panther Party where SWAT was involved, firebombing of headquarters and so on and so forth. And all these are things where it's the common activist and organizer versus the state apparatus of the United States of America. Why, for all of these years, for these multiple generations, have Black Panther Party organizers been considered such a threat by the United States government?
Because I believe that they knew how to carry theory into practice, and it was not connected to a corporate entity in which they could make money and what have you. I believe that it wasn't based upon religion, so you didn't have to be this religion or that religion. It wasn't based upon economics in terms of, if you're one of these hybrid, intellectuals, that pretty much had a lot of theory, but didn't have practical implementation that will affect the masses. Because anything we do has to be designed for the masses of our people. And I really believe that the Black Panther Party organizers were more in tune on the grassroots level, and I also say other groups as well, All African People's Revolutionary Party, certainly in Cobra. So there's many grassroots organizations that didn't have this high and mighty, lofty impression on people where sometimes people just didn't feel they were good enough to be a part of something and what have you. And then again, it's love for your people, brother. It's really, you have to love your people more than they've been taught to hate themselves. And that is an ongoing educational tool that we have to use to inform our people.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And before we conclude, I wanted to just ask the question, because you mentioned again another person who was really, really highly profiled on this program, Kwame Ture.
Yes.
How is it that someone today, a young person, let's say a 16-year-old who's hearing you speak now, and is inspired to connect with the Black Panther Party, the legacy of it, and they want to organize in that way, just as you were inspired to do so when you spoke with Kwame Ture?
Yes.
What direction should they go in? Is there any organizational apparatus for them to engage in or plug into that is compatible with that philosophy of the Black Panther Party?
Well, I would say that whatever organizational apparatus or perspective that they feel most comfortable with, because you can't, you can't really just mold someone into something they're not. So I think the best fit is a person really looking at the variety of organizations. Because some of our people more cultural. I'm very much a cultural. I always consider myself a cultural nationalist, but I understood that the greater inclusionary thing was something like the Black Panther Party. So I would think that the best fit for that individual to get the most constructive, immediate impact on their community is something they should go with. Whether it's if it's spiritual based, cool. If it's over here in the economic sector, cool. But in terms of the Black Panther perspective, it just really spoke to the grassroots, and we always consider ourselves children of Malcolm X. So I've played Malcolm X cassette tapes until they melted. I played Kwame Ture's cassette tapes till they melted, and all this theory will point the person in the right direction where they should go, so they can really be a part of the struggle.
Thank you. Once again, we are glad to have you on the Friday Night Drum. We look forward to further conversations. You know that your time is precious, and we want to give time for you to do other things, but we're glad that you spent some time with us today here with us on the Friday Night Drum.
Thank you so much, and I definitely want to let everyone know they're invited, including you brothers and sisters there, to the Southwest Art Center, Saturday, October 15th, 2022, 6 p.m. And it's at 915 New Hope Road, Southwest in Atlanta. And if they want to call, it's 470-809-7161 to RSVP.
Excellent. Thank you, Brother Malik. We look forward to seeing you there, and we look forward to reading your book and sharing that information with other people, from Old Guard to Vanguard and Second Generation Panther, both of those editions of that book. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to continuing our conversation.
Thank you, brother, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, that was a little bit from the interview I did with WRFG 89.3 FM here in Atlanta. The exhibit, it's behind us now. We're the Monday after, but it was highly successful. Many people came out. They got a chance to see the exhibit, Los Angeles, City of Panthers, with 45 pieces, many pieces that have never been shown. And again, afterwards, we went over to the theater, which is in the back of the Southwest Art Center, and watched a movie based upon the LA Panther movement. And many people got a lot out of it. So I want to thank the Southwest Art Center. I want to thank those who came out. We plan on taking the exhibit to Los Angeles, as well as Oakland, as well as Chicago and Midwest, Houston, Texas, and then down to Florida. So definitely look out for the exhibits from Old Guard to Vanguard, the untold story of the LA Panthers. Look out for Los Angeles, City of Panthers. Check out my book, From Old Guard to Vanguard, or Second Generation, editions 1 and 2. And I definitely will look forward to talking with you guys soon. Thank you, and all power to the people.